Modern networks move at the speed of code, yet many DDI teams still click through user interfaces for every single change. Let's see how BlueCat Integrity X's RESTful API and the new UI built right on top of that API turns one click into repeatable automation. Let's start with a simple example in the Integrity X user interface. Selecting an IPv4 network, we see that the URL reflects the path, objects, and fields that are displayed on the screen. This is the API GET call being made to retrieve the information. As we make changes in the UI, for example, adding filters, we see the URL is updated to reflect the API call. For a deeper look at the API calls, let's open the browser Developer Tools. As we make changes in the UI, for example, adding filters to our view, the filters and embedded resource record calls needed to render what is currently displayed in the UI are made to the GET URL. Now, we can simply copy this URL and use it in a curl command to get the same information direct from the API. The results are the same, just not as pretty. However, this demonstrates that by using the URL and developer tools, we can start to understand the Integrity X API and make simple calls. But there's a better way to learn about the API and test it out. Integrity X includes Swagger API documentation built in. To use the Swagger documentation, we can visit our BlueCat Address Manager server in the browser at the /API/docs path. To get started, we'll create a session and receive our API token, and then use the API token to authenticate to the server. Using the Swagger interface, we can try various API commands. Let's try this on the device type's endpoint. We'll expand the endpoint and click Try it out. When we execute the API call, we can see that the results are very long and detailed. Let's reduce the length by returning only the name and ID fields. That's better. Now, let's order the results by name. Now, let's only return the first 10 results. Now, let's focus in on just our Cisco device types. As you can see, each time we update a parameter in Swagger, the request URL and curl commands are updated, so we can see exactly what API call was made. With interactive API documentation, you can quickly learn and test API calls as you begin your automation journey. Let's take our API exploration further. At the top of the Swagger docs page is a link to the OpenAPI specifications JSON file for Integrity X. Let's download it and then import it into Postman, a third-party API platform that simplifies API testing and management. With the API specification imported to a Postman collection, we now have a full library of valid API calls. Let's send a quick post to our /sessions endpoint to authenticate to the API. We'll copy the API token value from the response and add it to the variables in our Postman collection. This will enable us to seamlessly authenticate all API calls we make during this session. Let's get a list of all of our defined networks for this environment. As you can see, that's a lot of data about our networks. Let's now just return the ID, type, name, and range fields to reduce the data in the results. And of course, we're not limited to just GET calls. Let's post a new tag. First, we'll create a new tag group for business continuity tier. We'll retrieve the ID of the new tag group from the response and use that ID to create tags for tiers within the tag group. With the tag group created, we can now add tags to the tag group. In separate API calls, we'll add Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 tags. A quick refresh of the Integrity X UI shows that the tags we created through the API are now present and ready to be assigned to assets across our DDI environment. This approach is simple and effective, but not the most efficient or scalable. Let's look at one way to automate actions by combining Python scripting with the Integrity X API. In this example, we're provisioning a new site, and need to create IPv4 network entries in the IPv4 block for the location. We follow a consistent IP addressing scheme for our environments, as you can see in this existing network block. This is an ideal situation to use scripting to automate DDI tasks. We have developed a simple Python script that creates our required networks and applies appropriate tags to each. Let's run the script to populate the networks for the new Frederick Hospital. We can see that the Frederick Hospital block has been populated with networks and tagged for their purpose. What was once a manual task is now a fast, repeatable action. For even greater automation, integrating Integrity X with tools like Terraform or Ansible is available. Integrity X's RESTful API is a powerful tool, ready to help you automate anything from simple tasks to complex enterprise integrations. It accelerates reporting, deployments, and other DDI tasks across your environment. To learn more about Integrity X, visit bluecat.com/products/integrity.